Welcome to Candidate Forum 2015. There's another IT person back there that I depend on too. Candidate Forum 2015 is sponsored by Futuro McAllen and the leadership of McAllen Alumni Association. And Gabby, where are you? There you are. Gabby is president of leadership of McAllen Alumni Association, and I do Futuro. We do this candidate forum. We've been doing them since about 2001. The whole purpose is to help the candidates get their views across to you in an impartial way. And for that reason, we use an impartial professional media panel to ask the questions. The questions are determined by the media panel, and we're very pleased with them. I'd like to turn this over to our moderator without further ado, and we're very pleased to have Neo Canales as our moderator. So Neo, take over.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay, first off, can everybody hear? I heard a no. Kind of? Okay, move closer. Anyway, good evening, everybody. I am Neo Canales, and I'll be your moderator for this evening's event. Now, as you know, we have two special elections coming up, but first we have to deal with a very important issue. And here it is. Cell phone. Okay, everybody turn your phone off or on silent. And this includes the people on the tables up here, reporters and candidates alike. I'll tell you what my wife, the teacher, tells her kids, okay, if I see a cell phone on the table, you get a 0. Okay, because what we want to do is be able to get through this event without any hassles and without any texting or the phone going off, okay? We appreciate that very much. Now, we have a special election on April the 5th to fill the unexpired term for McAllen City Commissioner District 1. April 4th, excuse me. The page I got said 5th. Okay, it's the 4th. And now there's a standard election every 2 years. That's going to be May the 9th, correct? Okay, very good. And this year, that's going to be for City Commission Districts 4, 5, and 6. Now, tonight, the candidates for these offices will have the honor of answering questions from noted local journalists and media members. Now, let's meet the media panel right now. Over on the media table over there, you see on the left of the room, Dave Hendricks. He's from KGBP Channel 4. He used to be with the Monitor for a long time. Print journalist, and he is now electronic. And we have Davis Rankin next to him from KURB Radio. Started as a print journalist, went to Channel 4, and worked at the time for CBS News in New York City. Next to him, Sky Chatty, brand new with the Monitor, and welcome, glad to have you here tonight. And we have Oscar Margain from Univision and Fox 2 News at the table. They will be asking the big questions tonight. Now, panel, we're going to ask you to please keep your questions to 30 seconds or less. We have a lot to do in a short amount of time. And candidates, all you guys running for office, we're going to ask you to keep your answers to 60 seconds or less. Now, for some questions, I know that's going to be kind of hard. So to help, we have Aaron Seal right here in front. You see he's raised his hand. He's our official timekeeper, and he has some cards telling you how long you have left, all the way up to the magic card which says, please stop. So, if you are going to get involved with your answers, we know he is your best friend tonight. He will take care of you. Just keep looking at it, he'll keep you straight, no problem. Now, some of you might think that, you know what, we're talking about City Commission, do we leave some important people out? Well, the truth is, no, we have not. Now, on the May the 9th election, we also include 2 places on the McAllen Public Utility Board, places B and C. Now, this year, both incumbents for the PUB are facing election with no opposition. We have no one to debate tonight. And here we are right now. Gentlemen, please stand up. We have Tony Aguida, PUB Place B, and Albert Curtis, PUB Trustee Place C. Now, you know the Public Utility Board, they manage all water and sewer for the city of McAllen underneath our streets. We have a vast underground network of water and sewer lines. They go to every single building in town. If you turn on a faucet or a lever to get water, if you have liquid going down the drain, because these guys and the people who work for them are doing their job. Without that, we don't have a city. Gentlemen, We thank you very much for what you're doing. So sorry you don't have to face opposition this time around. But glad for showing up tonight and saying hello to everybody. And your field. Okay, now getting down to the City Commission. Now the City of McAllen has a 7-member City Commission. There's one mayor elected at large, which means that everybody in town gets to vote in the mayor's election. And there are 6 city commissioners. We divide McAllen into 6 districts. Each district is has as close to 1/6 the population of the city as possible. Each district elects a commissioner to sit on the commission. That's it. Now, every 2 years, we elect half the commission, 3 of them, for a 4-year term. So every 2 years, we should be having an election for 3 of the commissioners. Now, tonight, we have 4 commission seats to consider because we have an unexpired term for District 1, which normally would not come up for election for another 2 years, but we unexpectedly lost Scott Crane just a few months ago. Now, there are 4 candidates looking to fill that unexpired term. Again, special election, April the 4th. Let's meet those candidates for District 1 right now, and they are seated in order from left to right that their names will appear on the ballot. To determine that order, they just simply do numbers out of a hat, so that's how it works for first, second, third, and fourth place. At the far end over there on the left side, we have Javier Villalobos, an attorney, spent time as an Hidalgo County Republican chairman. Richard F. Cortez, an accountant, spent a couple of years in the community. And 8 years as mayor, I guess you could acknowledge that. Eduardo Hinojosa, CEO for Rioplex. And Debbie Crane Aliceta on the McAllen School Board for years and years and years. Now, the regular election, May 9th, Districts 4, 5, and 6. Now, incumbent Commissioner Ida Ramirez in District 4 is running unopposed, another one of those. She's not here with us tonight. However, she sent a statement, which I will read to you right now. It says, to Ventura McAllen and Leadership McAllen Alumni Association Candidate Forum 2015. Thank you for your invitation. However, due to a prior commitment with my children, I will not be able to attend and participate in tonight's forum. As always, I will continue to serve the citizens of McAllen to the best of my ability with dedication and commitment. With best regards, Ida Ramirez, McAllen City Commissioner, District 4. So, that means we go to 5 and 6. Now, in District 5, we have 2 candidates. John J. Ingram, an attorney who is the current commissioner for District 5, the incumbent. And Eli Olivares, very active in community affairs, a local businessman. Now for District 6, also 2 candidates. Veronica Vela Whitaker, a businesswoman and the current incumbent. And Eduardo Eddie de la Rosa, a former McAllen police sergeant who is now kind of a consultant. He does lots of things for lots of people, hasn't stopped working. So, ready to get started? Let's do it. Okay, candidates, we're going to ask a question. Every single one of you will answer the very same question. You will have 60 seconds for your answer, and keep an eye on Aaron Steele over here. He'll keep us all straight on time. Now, you're going to answer the questions in order that the names appear on the ballot. We'll start on the far end over there and go straight down the line. Now, I have the question. Here it is. Besides the people in our community, what do you see as McAllen's single biggest asset and as our single greatest concern? Then how would you lead to address that concern?
Well, first of all, thank you to Ventura McAllen for inviting us. This is kind of a tough issue because I think most of us will probably understand and realize that the community we're probably talking about is Mexico. Mexico, lately, we've been talking about becoming a destination city. Mexican dollars have been very effective for our economy. The problem we've been having lately, though, is the Mexicans have been going to San Antonio, they have been going to Houston. Now, what do we need to do? I think we need to somehow make sure that McAllen is a destination city, that they make sure that they can spend a dollar. We have different types of issues that we have, but mostly, that is, when we're talking outside of the community, that is what it's gonna be.
When he turns it over,
Yes, sir.
all right.
Go ahead and please start.
Well, we all know that the best asset McAllen has is the human capital of all the people in McAllen. But second to that is our commercial corridor, what made McAllen an economic superpower of the Rio Grande Valley was our commercial sector, which we've lost 10% market share from the county. That should be a concern to us because we can't be generous by providing all this quality of life infrastructure that we've done for McAllen without a strong commercial sector. As we know, we're continuously being threatened by future growth in retail sales through the internet. Retail sales in Texas is predicted to grow about 3%, with 1.5% of that 3% to go to the internet, which means if our expenses continue to grow 3% and our revenues only grow 1.5%, it doesn't take a rocket science to tell you that we're going to be in trouble unless we rethink the way that we are earning our sales taxes by stopping any leakage that we have in the areas that are leaking out of McAllen to some of the places.
And next, Eduardo Hinojosa.
I believe the city's one of the city's greatest assets is, or the foundation and the greatest asset of the city is an array of several factors. The citizens, of course, our public servants, police officers, firefighters, and of course our educators. My desire and my determination to lead the city will keep those, what I would consider an asset of the city in mind. And of course, I feel also that educators and police officers and firefighters should be paid accordingly. With that type of desire and commitment that I'll bring to the city, something that I'd like to change as far as new leadership and education. Thank you.
Debbie Correa.
Hi, thank you for having me. Our biggest asset, obviously, is education. We have an incredible educational system here, and that is our #1 asset. Without an educated population, without an educated workforce, our ad valorem tax rates will stay low. The better educated people are, the better jobs they have, the bigger houses they buy, the more taxes they pay. The biggest concerns, I would say, is our relationship with UTRGV. We need to constantly be having our strategic planning. We need to make sure that we're collaborating with UTRGV, with the medical school, and make sure that that's a viable opportunity for our students in our McAllen public schools. One of the ways we do that is we can all pay our taxes, and the way we're funded is we're paid by property taxes, so when there's delinquent taxes that are out there, we're leaving $2, $5, $10 million on the table every time, and it really ties the arms of the school district of the city. What other things can I say? It's just our education, and the biggest concern is to make sure that we cooperate with people and that we have strategic planning sessions with people and we're all working in the region together.
John Ingram.
Well, I think our biggest asset besides our people is our geographic location.
Good hear you.
So close to Mexico, we're close to a
Can't
Gulf.
hear you.
Get out of here.
Okay. I think our biggest asset besides our people is our location. You know, we're close to Mexico. We're right in between the Burgos Basin in Mexico, which is a gigantic gas field, and the Eagle Ford Shell north of us. You have the Gulf of Mexico here, so it's a great location for business, for tourism. I think our biggest concerns are the impact of the Mexican and U.S. economy on the McAllen economy. You have, price of oil, violence in Mexico, and whether that spreads here, the peso devaluation, our growth. We've grown 27% in the last 10 years. So how does that impact our traffic and our drainage? Our quality of life. We're a small city moving into a medium-sized city. And when you do that, it requires that you provide certain emphasis on quality of life issues, and that can be expensive, and we need to meet those demands if we can. Economic development is another concern, our relationship with Mexico, and our situation with the Ansel Lewis Bridge.
Eli Olivares.
Thank you very much. Our biggest asset is the different generations that we have in this city. We are a diverse and cultural city. My biggest concern is what are we doing for the new generation so they will stay here in McAllen. We raise this new generation, we send them off, we need them back. We need them back so that they can be part of this great city. What I propose is that we start thinking about bringing back that infrastructure, bringing back the accountability and the accessibility of government with people, and also to bring back the business community. Because without these issues, without these programs, these children, these young people will not come back. We've done our part. Now it is time for us to do their part. Help them come back to McAllen.
Veronica Whitaker.
Good evening, and thank you, Lieutenant McAllen, for having us here this evening. McAllen has so many assets that I believe I'm unable to name all of them, but I will name a few. First and foremost, I think that we are the gem of the valley. We are the #1 city, and we are the model for the rest of the Rio Grande Valley. We have a lot to offer as a city. We have wonderful places to shop. We have wonderful places to eat. We have a medical community that is so large, and it is for everybody, not just for one. We have a large medical community. We have a lot of tourism here. We are now becoming a destination place. We're able to say, hey, there's so much going on in one night. There's so many of us that we cannot keep up, and that's great for McAllen. I grew up in McAllen and said, oh my God, what am I going to do tonight? There was nothing to do. Now I need to choose, and I can go to something every single night and stay there for an hour and a half or so, and I have to move on because we have so much to offer. And that's good for our children, and that's good for everybody in the valley, because hopefully they will come back. So we have to look forward to something because McAllen is growing.
Thank you.
And, oh, I'm done.
Okay, now, Eddie De La Rosa.
I want to thank all of y'all for coming here and supporting us, and I'm going to make this a little bit personal. The biggest asset that the city of McAllen has is every individual sitting out there and taking part of this forum here. And those that are watching at home as well. We continue to talk about the tourism and the issues that are going around in Mexico. We have an amazing, extremely amazing McAllen Chamber of Commerce staff that's being, with the leadership of Steve Alenius. We need to continue to support them to help the local business owners and not only move along with those franchises that are outside or the larger businesses out there. We continue to focus on each one of y'all on your education and making sure that our services that we pledge to you, that you're going to have, that we abide by that, and that we give you those services that we're saying up here we're going to offer you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much. Very good.
Neil, if I could interrupt just a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Could we advise the people in the back, if you can't hear the candidates, please raise your hand and they'll adjust the mic or speak louder or whatever it takes.
I believe these might be cardioid mics that require that you hold them closer to your mouth, so that should take care of it.
So raise your hand if you are not hearing. Thank you.
Very good. Now, next round. Now we have a different question for each and every one of you. Our media panel steps in now to ask in ballot order. Of course, the panel has 30 seconds to ask their question. Candidates, again, 60 seconds for your answer. And we're going to start with a question for Richard Cortez.
All right. Mayor Cortez, in retrospect, was it appropriate for you to work with your sons and business acquaintances to submit a development proposal for Gui Reservoir while you were mayor?
Absolutely. The state of Texas, as well as the state of McAllen, has a very strong ethics policy, and all of us have to adhere to that ethics policy. And the ethics policy calls that when we have conflict of interest, we simply disclose it and abstain from any discussion. I did not want the fact that I was going to be mayor of the city of McAllen for McAllen to lose an opportunity to have a wonderful development like a theme park in McAllen, Texas. It just happened to be that my sons and I were involved with that project, and Mayor Garland is involved with conflicts of interest when he talks about DHR. Trey Beverly is involved with conflict of interest when he talks about McAllen Construction doing projects. So it's a common thing to find. So I absolutely, when I took on that project, I fully disclosed it. I told Mike Pettis to make sure to disclose it to the city commission. And again, I've served for 14 years in the public sector, and I've never had a complaint filed on me for any ethics violation.
Thank you. Next question will be for Eduardo Hinojosa.
Just so you know, that if you're elected, what can you do that your other opponents can't do?
I believe there's a couple of things that I would like to offer that I bring to the city. A couple of things. One being my IT background. One of the latest stories that I've seen from the monitor is that the McAllen's network hasn't been updated in the past 8 years. And I'm certain we have an IT director whose toes I wouldn't want to step on, but I believe I can provide great assistance to it, great knowledge, to provide broadband service throughout the city. Our network deployment is, it's not an easy task. To be able to provide service from Rio Grande Valley to South Padre Island is complicated. Our upgrades require a lot of strategic commitment and bold decisions. The other thing is my passion, as many will probably title me as an environmentalist, through what I've learned at UTPA as an intern for sustainability, is to bring a new generation towards the city of keeping a good, sustainable, healthy city. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question for Debbie Crane on the agenda.
Hi, obviously you share a name with your brother, and we all are pretty familiar with him. Are you just going to be a continuation of him, or what are you going to bring to the position that's it?
Well, I'm a little bit of both. I am my own person, as you know right now. Okay, we're gonna start over because I couldn't hear you. I am my own person. I am a trustee on the school board, former president on the school board. I've been doing this for a long time. The budget in the school board, our general fund is $220 million. It's twice what the city is. Our employees, we have 3,300 employees. It's twice what the city is. We manage 33 big buildings. I'm telling you all that so that you can know that I am doing what my brother Scott was doing. I was just doing it parallel in a different lane to him. I'm a business person. I ran businesses in McAllen, in Weston, Brownsville. It's called Harrison's Factory Outlet. I did that for about 11 years, had to close it after 9/11. But we do share the same ethics, the same integrity. So yes, in that sense, you are getting the same person. We would never vote on something. We would never take something we run in closed session and use it for personal financial gain. You are in that sense getting the exact same person.
Next question. Thank you. Next question for John Ingram.
Sorry, just a question.
Yes, sir.
Did we skip Mr. Villalobos for a reason, or is there an order just for us also to know who's coming up?
Oh.
We didn't start with Mr.
Oh, yeah, we're starting with a different person.
Oh, okay.
So now I understand.
Okay, yeah, good. Mr. Ingram, how do you plan to address the need for affordable housing for low-income families in your district? I know that's different from District 1. I know that was my topic last year. Such as the Auburn Village project that Mr. Crane was opposed to. Now, in general, when you discuss this, how do you plan to address the need, particularly in District 5?
Well, in District 5, what we started 2 years ago was a program called Project Imagine Tomorrow. We have a lot of condemned houses in McAllen, especially in District 5, and also houses in need of repair. Imagine Tomorrow is a project that will, if you want to tear your house down, we'll bring in the dumpsters. It's free. You fill them up and you tear down your house, we'll take it away. That's worth about $3,000. If you rebuild your house in a year, we'll give you, let's say the increment in tax value goes up by $300 in property taxes, we'll refund you $3,000 for that. It's called Project Imagine Tomorrow. We are looking now at incentivizing building vacant lots that are in District 5 and all over the city, so that if you build on that lot, you can get an incentive for that. Also, repairing your house, you can do that, or vacant houses, getting incentives for developers to fill vacant houses. There's a lot of vacant houses in the town. But, I voted in favor of that development project, Madhouse development, and that's another way we're doing it.
Next question for Eli Olivares.
Okay. McAllen recently annexed a large amount of land north and east of District 1. How would you manage the city's new responsibilities to provide services to those areas with the need to reinvest in the city's urban core?
Well, first of all, one of the reasons that I am running is because there are some disconnects with how we are budgeting our city. We don't know how we're going to do that yet, and yet we're doing it. The reason that I'm running is because I want more attention to District 5. District 5 right now is in a decline, and I am here to tell you that this decline will become a decay. We need to start thinking about also the inner city. We're talking a lot about the outside of the city. I'm here because I'm taking care of District 5 and what it means. There's people, it's a community, there's business, there's schools. So I'm coming back and saying, that's a good question, but my focus right now is District 5, and that is why I'm running. Because I need my District 5 to come back. We need to bring back the soul to the heart of the city.
And the next question for Veronica Whitaker.
McAllen pays about 40% of all Hidalgo County taxes, but no county commissioner answers mostly to city voters. It's split in 3 different districts, if I'm right about that. How could that be fixed? What can you guys do on the city commission to fix that disparity?
You know, if I do just one as county commissioner in District 2, which happens to be in my backyard, and we are already working on plans and ways that we are going to improve our area. And so now we have open communication with each and every one of those county commissioners. We have visited with them, and we are now building a relationship, just like we built a relationship in the McAllen Independent School District, just like we built a relationship amongst ourselves in order for all of us to move forward with each other, because we are now a growing community, and we are now, our neighboring cities are you just cross the street. We have also built a relationship with UTRGV. So as all of us work together, and the Rio Grande Valley is going to thrive together.
And the next question will be for Eddie De La Rosa.
Hi. You're in a leadership role for the McAllen Police Department. The hierarchy is very yes or no, sir, very rank and file. How will you approach your leadership role differently when you can't get orders?
How can I approach
Your leadership role as a city commissioner, how will you approach that differently?
Obviously, communication's the main issue. If you cannot communicate correctly the message, there's always the dysfunction and disarray in an organization. I am committed to sit down, and whether it's day after day or into the night, to make sure that we iron out our communications to get issues related to quality of life and anything having really to do with the city. I'm willing to do that. I've done it before. As a police officer, I've done it before as a firefighter for the Denver Volunteer Fire Department. There are many concerns with communication, but here we are. I pledge to you that we will take care of those communication gaps that are often talked about here.
And the last question for this round goes to Javier Villalobos.
Mr. Villalobos, the influx of immigrant families continues, and so does the support from the city using tax-paying dollars to aid the humanitarian efforts. Now, do you support the mayor in this cause, which some could argue is a federal responsibility, and why?
Well, you have to understand, when it comes to immigration, it is a federal responsibility. And the municipality is restricted by the Constitution as to what they can do. I'm not 100% sure that we should be funding immigration issues. I really don't think we should. Now, but that's not necessarily the problem. The problem is, should they stay, the problem is what's going to be faced by the school districts. You have 300-400 children, and guess what's going to happen? We're going to have to build a new school. And I think you all know right now what the big issue is here in McAllen, and it's a school barn. Imagine having to absorb another 300, 400, 500 children that the law requires us to educate. It's not easy. And it's really not necessarily the city's job. In my opinion, it's something that we should not be doing. We're not spending money there anyway.
Thank you very much. Now we'll start again with Dave Hendricks asking the first question of this next round, and we will start the questioning with Mr. Hinojosa. So same questioner, different, starting with a different person each round. Go ahead.
Mr. Hinojosa, at McAllen City Commission meetings, at the end of the meeting when they have the public comment, the city turns off the camera and it's not broadcast to the public. Do you think that that is the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do? Would you change that if you were elected?
I think it's the right thing to do. I think there are some things that strategically a group of leaders, for example, the city commissioners, need to focus and keep on the table the way they handle the city, the way they manage the city as elected officials. I wouldn't change that process. I have faith in the way the city has done things for that in that aspect.
Now, Davis Rankin with a question for Debbie Crane on the 7th.
You've been on the school board, you're still on the school board, I guess, so you're not on the school board. But when you all were discussing the original bond figure of $440 million, which got cut down to a bond of $297 million, how did you all contemplate or think about, analyze the effects of the tax increase as a result, not only on homes, but on commercial properties in McAllen?
Are you asking how we lowered it down from the 440 to 3, or are you asking if you were considering the change that?
No, when you were thinking about taking when they suggested $440 million, that had a tax implication of almost 30 cents a hundred. And then you lowered it to 297 to be phased in, so the tax goes up gradually. But how are you all thinking about the effect of that on businesses, on homeowners, and on businesses especially in when the economy's not doing as well as it should, et cetera?
It's something that we took into a lot of consideration, and that's why we asked the superintendent to take it back and to come back with a different solutions. And his solution that he came back with was a combined effort, what's called a TRE, and then on one side, and on the other side, interest seeking, he found a way to lower it down to the 297. And the way he did that is he took off the 5% escalation, the fees that would be in there. He took that off, and then he also reworked the schools, the population. The formula was based on population of schools and square footage. There's a formula that you have to use by CEA. There's rules on that. And so when you took the population of certain schools that are not at full capacity, let's say that the original formula was at 800 students, and really there's only 600 students in there, that lowered it significantly. So that's how the superintendent was able to come up with some lower numbers and bring it to the school board. And the school board thought a lot about it, and it's a lot. It's a big tax burden, but the need is real. Our schools are dilapidated.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, sorry.
Neil?
Yes, ma'am.
If I could interrupt one more time. I'm told that some of you need to speak up a little bit more. Is that correct?
Yes.
Speak up a little bit. Please, all of you in the back, if you can't hear, please raise your hand. It does help. And they will speak up or adjust the mic. Thank you.
Okay, the next question for John Abrams is going to come from the Monitor Sky Chatty.
In January, you raised concerns about the city not being transparent enough. Is that still your position now, and why?
Well, I think we're not transparent as we could be in the city. You know, we let go of I don't think we're as transparent as we could be in the city. We let go of our internal auditor, who is a CPA and a certified fraud auditor, and that position hasn't been filled. You know, I think what we should be doing is publishing our audits online so that anyone can go online and see the audits that are done. I think we should clarify our internal audit charter because I think it's not clear where the lines of authority lay. You know, I'm on the bridge board, and the bridge board makes a decision. That comes to the city commission to be ratified. That doesn't happen with the audit committee. I think those sorts of decisions that the audit committee makes should come to the city commission and be ratified. For example, firing the auditor. I think we should remove the city manager and the city attorney from really having direct discussions with the audit committee about audit issues unless it's a legal issue. And I think we should strengthen our fraud hotline procedures.
Thank you, sir. Now, Oscar Margain, your next question goes to Eli Olivares.
Mr. Olivares, now, as we know, and I want to get this right, you're a strong supporter of LGBT rights, correct? Now, your personal views on politics and religion, how does that influence your day-to-day decisions, and how do those differ from your opponent?
First of all, I stand for equality for all citizens. That's the most important. Now, I'm not going to go into religion because we're talking about law, federal, state, and local laws, where religion is in its place. But equality for citizens is something that we should all have and we should respect. There should be no discrimination. So as far as I'm concerned, it's about equality. As long as you keep it fair, we will make a lot of progress in getting what we need. At the end of the day, we're all people. We're all citizens, we pay our taxes, we work hard. So why shouldn't we have equality for all? It's not a question of state and church. It's equality of what's right. What is the right thing to do?
Thank you, sir. Now, Dave Hendricks.
Hold the applause until we're all finished so that we can applaud for everybody and save the time for questions and answers.
Okay, Dave Hendricks, you will ask a question now, or Veronica Whitaker?
All right, the police and fire departments in McAllen have collective bargaining to set pay and working conditions. Do you feel that that is a good deal for taxpayers? Why or why not?
No, I was only on the city commission for the last 2 years, so I have not had the honor or the privilege to work with the collective bargaining yet. And so I do have an idea of what it's all about, and I am going to continue to listen to both sides, listen to the city, and listen to the fire department, and listen to the police department. And based on all of the principles and everything that is correct for each one of them involved, then I will make my decision, because I have not taken part in that decision making yet, but I look forward to it in May.
Davis Rankin, you will ask a question of Eddie De La Rosa.
If you're on the committee, I don't know when the contracts come back up for renewal. The last police department contract was a very fraught thing. Are you for pay increases for policemen and firemen? You have figures in mind of what you think they should get?
I don't have any figures because obviously I wasn't privy with, this morning we had a meeting and we were given, and I brought it visually, this Bible here, so I haven't completely gone through these figures. But the question on do I support raises for police and fire? Definitely. There is no doubt in my mind that our officers and our firefighters that risk their lives every day, every second that they put on that badge, and even when they're off duty, that they should get paid some sense of a raise, incentive, and not only that, they have to be given the health insurance and benefits that come along with it. Thank you.
Okay, Sky Chatty, your next question goes to the other levels.
The city went over budgets on its December holiday parade. Do you think such spending sprees are useful to change McAllen's image, and why?
Well, I know they went over budget by a bit, but we also have to understand, and we've been talking about trying to make McAllen a destination city. Yes, something we know, everybody knows it went over budget. However, let's look at where the money can come from. If you properly appropriate whatever funds are necessary from the hotel and local tax, which is what we're supposed to be doing, I don't think it would make much of a difference. Now, it went over budget quite a bit. We all know that. However, we also know that it was a one-time expense. We don't have to drill under the irrigation district anymore. We don't have to change the power lines. We know what happened, and hopefully the city of McAllen learned its lesson. Now, use the money properly, fund the project from where it's supposed to be funded, and I think it's a pretty good thing to do. The parade was pretty successful.
Okay, last question for round two goes to Richard Cortez from Oscar Margain from Univision Fox 2.
Mr. Cortez, as a candidate, the use of paid and unpaid campaign workers, also known as politiqueros, is a common practice as it helps with voter turnout. However, due to some of these workers going rogue by breaking the law and buying votes, do you still favor them? And what have you done in your campaign to ensure, if you do have politiqueros, that this doesn't occur?
Well, how do you police illegal action? People get involved in campaigns, and you have paid people and you have unpaid volunteers. In my campaign, we have all volunteers. So, and we're not using any, I don't know what your definition of politiquero would be, but we're not using them. I know there has been some abuses in the past, and I'm happy to see that there's been some prosecution of that abuse in the past. And I think in the best in the public interest is we put a stop to it, because that doesn't help anybody. But I hope I answered your question, but there is a situation where all of us have to pay attention so we have good, clean elections every election.
Thank you very much. Now we'll start the questioning again, starting with Dave Hendrickson. If I am keeping up with this, I believe the question goes to Debbie Crane on 7.
Trustee Aliseda, in your opinion, is the proposed $297 million McAllen School District bond worth the price?
Yes. Yes. The price is really $770 million to fix the schools. Our schools are really outdated. It's by no fault of the board that was here right now. It's been a continuation of things that haven't been fixed over the years. But we're in a situation of our funding. We're funded based on property taxes. And when people don't pay their property taxes, there's a lot of money left on the table. We're also funded based on our population. Well, if you're not putting your kids in the McAllen public schools, and we have 20 kids in the class when we have the teacher there, and we can staff it so that it should be 30, we're still paying that teacher. Our overhead doesn't change. It's not like at the car wash where we can clock people out because it's raining, and so we can save some money. We cannot save money. We have gone every way to save money. We take a lot of pride in offering a lot of different endorsements, all the endorsements. We take a lot of pride in offering all the AP classes that surrounding school districts don't give us. We need science labs. We're in dire straits of these science labs. So yes, we need to fix our buildings. It's a must. That bond has to pass.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, next question goes, Davis Rankin, goes to Johnny Burke.
If memory serves, when the city went out for the $45 million bond issue, I saw publicity of various governmental bodies, including the McAllen School Board, endorsing. Do you agree with, do you support the $297 million bond issue now, and should the city commission and the mayor take a position on it publicly? Have you all been asked to take a position on it publicly?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for anyone else on the commission. But, I support the bond issue. When you look at, for example, McAllen School, what happened when they built the fence at McAllen School? It really made the neighborhood a lot nicer. We have a lot of areas in District 5. We have Navarro Elementary. We have the Head Start School just down the street from there. I think improvements would do a lot to boost our economy and help to revitalize our urban core. I think neighborhoods would thrive. I think, when people come to McAllen to do business or to live, they look at the schools. And one of the most important factors is the spouse. And if the spouse isn't happy with the educational facilities, with the community, that could be the determining factor for that family to decide not to come here or do business here. So I think it will really help our community to improve the schools, and it will just do a lot to help. And look at McAllen, that's a great example.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Sky Shandy, Eli Elias is waiting for your question.
You said in the opening statement you wanted to keep kids here in McAllen. How would you go about doing that?
Well, first of all, we have to start thinking about this plan. It has not come yet to discussion. We need to start thinking about, of course, our education. We need to start thinking about new jobs, new types of jobs. We also have to start thinking about where we're going to live. Now again, I'm going to bring it up. I'm from District 5. It is the oldest, most historic part of our city. We need to start thinking about improving our infrastructure, improving our schools, improving security. So if we're going to create McAllen, then we need to consider all of these issues. Because it's not just about growing outwards, it's about growing inwards. And I think if the children see this, if our young youth see this, they're going to start thinking about coming back. I've been talking to so many that have come back. And why? Because we can provide something that they've been missing. And one of the places is District 5.
Thank you, sir. Oscar Margain, Bronco, Federal Worker.
Yes, the downtown entertainment district has had a large financial investment over the last years by property owners and businesses. How do you envision the growth of this area, and if elected, or if re-elected, how would you then propose to help the area prosper?
I love this downtown district, and it has had its problems, but we have slowly corrected them, and we are going to continue. This past year, we did not fund them, and so therefore, because we have a plan in place. And that plan is to make sure that we get the business owners of that community to come visit the commission so that we can sit down and say, okay, what are you lacking? What are you needing? How are we going to move forward? What are we going to get rid of? What would I like to see? I'd like to see a lot more there is entertainment as a family. Because you can go down there, of course, after 9 o'clock, but it's mainly bars. We need somewhere that we can go and enjoy and meeting with the kids for dinner. Because most of our kids are very curious, because that's what they care about, is downtown. So we need to be able to go there from 6 to 9 and make sure that the kids can enjoy that downtown area. And we do need to grow, because we do need to have a thriving downtown area so that when people want to move to McAllen and they do go downtown, and we have different areas of town that they're able to visit and enjoy.
Okay, Dave Hendricks, your next question is for Eduardo De La Rosa.
Mr. De La Rosa, Commissioner Vela Whitaker has represented District 6 for 2 years now. Why do you think the commission needs a change in representation?
I believe that just by the mere fact of my experience, the skills and abilities that I've had, and I can bring a little bit more energy into the whole district and unite the community stronger and make. Look, we live in McAllen. McAllen is the best vibrant city that there is south of San Antonio, no doubt. I want to be part of that. I want to continue. I would love to take that torch from Veronica and continue moving this city forward. And the only way that I would be able to do that is to be in a leadership role on the commission, to continue to go out, meeting with the neighbors, knocking on the doors, and finding out what their needs are on a daily basis, because things change every day. Change is constant, and we need to realize that as a commission, we need to be attentive to our people and to support a better quality of life.
Thank you, sir. Davis Rankin, your question goes to Javier Villalobos.
How realistic a concern is it that the corruption seen in other valley cities will come to McAllen? What role does the city commission have, or can it have, in preventing that?
Well, first of all, let's all pray that it never does. McAllen, I think you all will agree with me, has generally not been, at least there has not been too many issues regarding the types of issues seen in other areas. I think it's very important. For example, I kind of disagree with Mayor Cortez about the issue on the ethical question. I think never should have been there. When it was found out that he was a CEO, I think that's, whether it's ethical or not, it creates an appearance of impropriety, and then we have the type of questions that we have now. Whenever something like this happens, it shouldn't happen at all in the first place. We have to make sure that the code of ethics that the city of McAllen has is followed. We need to make sure that if it's not, somebody gets prosecuted. It happened in Arlington. It happened in Arlington. One of the individuals, and it was precisely that same thing, failure to, or discussing when they weren't supposed to be discussing. If we follow what we have to do, we shouldn't have that problem.
Okay, Richard Cortez, your next question will come from Sky Chatty from the Monitor.
The Border Trade Alliance, which simply is just kind of a collection of border cities and private companies, and McAllen is its biggest contributor money-wise. It's going through a rough patch right now. Do you think McAllen should still be involved in the BTA, and why?
Absolutely. If you remember, the origination of the Border Trade Alliance was by Senator Graham. People were coming in from the Rio Grande Valley speaking to the senator and other government officials over there, a city at a time, individuals at a time, and said, we're not going to listen to you if only one city is coming to speak to us. What you all need to do is form a large southern border organization So that when the southern border organization comes, then you're looking at 2 senators from each of the southern border states. You're looking at all the congressional people from the border states. So you're coming in with a bigger stick, if you will. The Border Trail Alliance is a volunteer organization of members coming primarily from municipalities, economic development corporations. So funding varies from time to time because the leadership in the organization varies from time to time. But yes, I believe that the city of McAllen having 2 international bridges and depending 1/3 of their income from Mexican trade.
Thank you, sir.
Has to be involved with the Border Trail Alliance.
And the last question for this particular round goes to Mr. Hinojosa. It comes from Oscar Margain.
Speaking of the dependency from the Mexican tourism and economy, the city of McAllen has been known, or was known, as a shopping hub for the valley. Now, with the opening of other shopping complexes in other cities, creates more competition. What do you propose to make up for the loss in sales tax revenues?
Yeah, I believe the gross retail tax revenue was about $3.5 billion, and 1.8 of that is attributed to the Mexican national. They like to come here and shop. I think as the peso will continue to plummet, if it does, that could create big problems for our city. And I think having what I like to tell people, a newer generation and a new leadership approach, an entrepreneurial approach, I believe that I bring a desire and a commitment to make great things happen for the city, to think outside the box and be able to bring other types of incentives for retail businesses to want to develop and do great things for the city.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, now the time that we have now is 7:48. We were scheduled to go until about 8 o'clock, so I'll have a directive here. 6:48? Okay, well, my calendar's off and my clock is off. Yes, ma'am?
Since you have inadvertently created a very nice break,
How about that?
let's give them just a moment to gather their forces, because the really important thing about this whole affair is that you guys go out and vote. And Annette Villarreal, who is our election person, has a few things to say on that. Annette, would you please get the mic?
Well, good evening, everyone. I would just like to advise you that, of course, you need to be a registered voter in order to exercise your right to vote at these 2 elections. Early voting for the special election is right around the corner. You did need to register to vote 30 days before election day, and basically that was today. However, for the general election, 30 days out from the election day, May 9th, is April 9th, so you still have time to register to vote. And we do have a table here with voter registration cards. Both Deputy City Secretary Perla Lara and myself serve as volunteer deputy registrars with Hidalgo County. So again, we are here to help you, and please see us at the end of the forum. I'd be more than some help.
Thank you, Annette. We appreciate you being here, you and Perla, very much. And did you enjoy the little 1-minute break there? And I think then that with that, Neo, we're good to go for
The next question.
several rounds.
We have lots of time left here. Okay, so with next round, everybody will answer another question directed to you from the panel. We'll start with Dave Hendricks again, of course, start with a different person. And last time you addressed, now you'll start with Mr. Ingram. Yes.
Commissioner Ingram, over the last few years, you felt compelled to speak out about some things in the city, and regardless of whether you're right or wrong, some of those things push crossways to other commissioners. do you think that that's impaired your ability at all to work with the commission to get things done for your district?
I don't think so. I think what I'm trying to do, I'm laser focused on being a good steward to look after all of your money. If you're from McAllen and you're paying taxes, all I'm trying to do is my best to make good decisions, to make sure that your money is spent the way it should be spent. And that's really all I'm trying to do. You know, it's very tempting to want to go along with the crowd and be friends with everybody. And I think one of the most important things a commissioner has to do is to be independent and be willing to set aside friendships to do what in his mind or her mind is the right thing. And that's what I've always tried to do, and I do it because I'm trying to live up to what the voters have asked me to do on a daily basis.
Thank you, sir. Davis Rankin, please ask a question, and Eli Olivares.
Mr. Olivares, do you think there's any spending in City Hall that needs to be cut, or any spending that needs to be increased?
Well, I just started actually getting informed with the budget, and I think that all of us should be getting informed with the budget, not just candidates. But if you see what I see, the budget is good. What we need to see is how it is proportioned throughout the city. That is my only question with the budget. Where is it being spent? Is every district getting the same attention, the same quality, the same equality, the same equity? That is my concern, that it should be there. I mean, again, I'm here because of a district, and that is why I'm running. This district has been ignored and it has been forgotten. We need to make sure that this budget also includes District 5 and other districts that need it. Because if we do not, then it will become a burden to the city and to the citizens that live in it and around it.
Okay, Veronica Velka-Whitaker, your next question. The next question is yours, and it comes from Scotty Chang from the Monitor.
If you're elected, what can you do that your opponent can't do?
I wear a dress. Actually, you know, I am physically involved in my community and in my district every single day. I am out and about in the city on a daily basis. I don't think that there's a day that doesn't go by that I am not involved in my community. Through a phone call, through the newspaper, or physically you will see me running on the hike and bike trail, either on 2nd Street or Bicentennial, or you'll see me cycling, or you'll see me just walking. But I think that because I have so much energy and I need to make sure that I utilize it every single day, I use it in a positive manner. And because I love where I live and I love McAllen. I grew up here, I got educated here, I work here, I brought my children up here, and I do hope that my children do come back because McAllen is thriving and McAllen is a safe and a wonderful place to live. So because of that, I have a passion for the city of McAllen, and I hope to continue to serve the city of McAllen in the positive fashion that I have in the last 2 years.
Okay, Oscar Margain, the next question is yours, and it goes to Eduardo Del Valle.
Now, Mr. De La Rosa here. The Stage 2 water conservation, how is it impacting your constituents? What's the word on the street? And when should the commodity be returned to a normality? Do you propose some other solution?
It's very evident that just because we get some rain, it kind of phases the folks out there that, oh, we have water and we can go ahead on the days that we don't have water, go ahead and start, watering our lawns and stuff like that. Or they drive by the city and they see a business and their sprinkler system's going on. So Stage 2 was implemented for a reason. We need to conserve that water. It's always on the news. I know Tim Smith is always talking about it, the reservoir and the levels. And don't be complacent with the idea that just because we've had rain, it's okay on the days that we don't to go in the water. We need to conserve, no different than we conserve our money and save our money for in this case, the rainy days. So keep on with the conservation and just be mindful of the resources, limited resources that we have here in the city.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next question comes from Dave Hendricks. It's for Javier available.
Mr. Villalobos, 2 years ago, after the city election, the commission went to South Padre Island for a retreat to figure out what it wanted to do. They talked about the parade and the football stadium renovation. Do you think that retreats should be held inside, outside the city? Why or why not?
Actually, it's something that a lot of municipalities do, and based on the state of the city, the budget is decent. However, when you look at the amount that is spent, you know what, we have a perfect convention center here in the city of McAllen where we can hold a retreat. I don't remember the amount that was spent, but believe me, it was quite big. And the reason I know is that I've represented municipalities, school districts for the past 17 years, and I know what they do. Even though they're smaller, I see the cost when they go to a retreat either in San Antonio, Padre Island, and a lot of the times, unfortunately, a retreat turns into a little vacation for the family. I think we have a great convention center, and I think we should utilize it.
Next question comes from KURV Radio, Davis Rankin, to Richard Cortez.
Mr. Cortez, you served on the Public Utility Board, you're a CPA, you were mayor. Why are you running for city commission?
Well, that's a very good question. If you look at my resume, my history, I have a history of service. And I'm going to tell you that having the dual professional designations and having been in business for 45 years gives me a lot of knowledge and skill. And I learned a long time ago that we're all born to serve. And I've created a lot of skills in my life, and I've had the pleasure of serving a lot of people. And I would like to contribute my skills for the benefit of this community. This is a complicated city that we run. We own a golf course, an airport, 2 international bridges, a utility company, many other business operations. Our budget is $110 million. We have to deal with labor unions. We have to deal with civil service. This is a huge business. We spend millions of dollars on constructions. Please tell me that you can benefit from somebody with 45 years of experience doing just that.
Thank you, sir. Next question comes from the monitor, Sky Chatty, and it is for Mr. Reynolds.
This is the time of year the influx of immigrants will start up again. One of your opponents has already expressed his position on this, but how should McAllen approach what many have called a humanitarian crisis that's on its doorstep?
One of our duties as humans is to provide that type of assistance. I believe that we have a duty to help. That touches strongly with my faith. And I believe as adamant as we can be as a city to help those that need assistance, I'd be one of the first ones in line to be that way. Thank you.
Okay, last question for this round goes to Ms.
Elizabeth Green. I go back to the affordable housing again. Your brother was opposed to it and created some controversy. Now, I know you, in many ways, plan to continue his ideas and his legacy. Now, in this topic itself, do you still differ, or do you still support what Scott Train supported?
Well, we still represent the exact same neighborhoods. We still represent the exact same people who were concerned with their property values. So yes, I would be opposed to it. I think there's other locations that are better for it. I think McAllen is an inclusive city and we need to have more affordable low-income housing. But I speak for District 1 and they've spoken, they're against it. I'm their voice. I think there are other locations though, not right next to single-family home. I think there's other locations where people that don't have cars could walk to, like a Walmart or an HEB, things like that. I think there are other areas in District 1 that could house these. This is a lot of rooftops. And this, you have to look also, what does it stress? What does it do to those schools? Those schools on the north side are already really burdened. We're at full capacity on the north side. So when things like this come in, they really need to talk to the school district along with the city commission. And I find it really odd how as soon as the developer found out, I mean, it seems the timing of it, there's no commissioner in that spot right now. The developer brought it to the city commission, and you certainly have time constraints that it has to be heard. The timing seems a little bit odd,
Thank you,
but it
ma'am.
can be back, it can be brought back and revisited.
Okay, that finishes round 3, starting round 4. We'll start off, leading this round will be a question to Eli Olivares from Dayton.
If elected, how would you seek to change or shape the downtown entertainment district on 17th Street and off?
Well, my campaign has 3 pillars. First pillar is to work with the business community. And I've been speaking to them. They need help. So we need to start finding incentives and ways to work with the business community. Infrastructure is really needed. We still have drainage problems. We have sewage problems. I personally can't get out of my driveway if we have a heavy rain, and I've waited 2 hours before my street went down. We don't have lights. We don't have, our bus stops don't have seats, benches, nor shelter. And I've been out there when there's people hovering in the rain and in the cold. These are the type of things that I want to work on. I started as an activist. I am still an activist. And what I'm going to bring to City Hall is that sense that people are the most important thing to a city. We must take care of our citizens. We must take care of our infrastructure and our business community.
Thank you, sir. Next question for Veronica Bella Whitaker, Davis Rankin, KURB.
Was it ethical to allow the city's delinquent tax collector, Linebarger Govan Blair, to be the lead sponsor at the recent State of the City event? Should vendors be solicited or allowed to donate to city events? Do you take contributions from people who have business before the city?
Not only was Linebarger the only person that was asked to sponsor the State of the City this past year, but 50+ other organizations and businesses were also asked to support the State of the City. And what does the city do with all of that money? We give it right back to the city, back in each and every one charitable events. Every time there's a charitable event for Paw Valley Animal Shelter, we support them. McAllen Boys and Girls Club, we support them. Easter Seals, we support them. The Diabetes Association, we support them. The list goes on everything that the city does with that money from the State of the City. So they were not the only ones that were asked, they just happened to be the ones that gave the most money. So each and every one of those who are our supporters is given right back to the city or to a charitable organization. So I am okay with that.
Thank you. Okay. Sky Chatty, your question now goes to Eduardo De La Rosa.
At the risk of sounding like a broken record, I asked Ms. Whitaker, so I'm going to ask you. If you elected, what can you do that your opponent can't do?
Based on just, and one of the key factors that I feel that I can sit here and talk to you on, being a police officer for about 20 years here in the city, we've seen the good and the bad. We've seen I've experienced a lot in this city. What I can bring back or instill here is the energy and the drive that I still have since I started in 1990 as a police officer and then moved up to the ranks of sergeant of police. There is no reason that any citizen should be left behind. Any citizen should not be contacted or listened to whenever they have a great concern. I will give them a mechanism where they can call me. I live at 405 Jasmine in McAllen, Texas, the great city south of San Antonio, and my phone number is 956-212-9686. That is what I can give every citizen in District 6.
Okay, Oscar Margay, the next question is yours. It goes to Mr. Villalobos.
Mr. Villalobos, the mayor and the city commission positions are virtually volunteer positions with elected officials having professional careers and in which conflict of interest situations could arise, and as you criticized Mr. Cortez earlier, as an attorney representing your client, being that your job, how would you balance representing or keeping to your professional duties and balancing that with public service without becoming a conflict of interest?
Well, pretty much just like Mr. Ingram does, we do our job. And if you're talking about that, the fact that I've represented municipalities for 17 years, well, I've represented El Cauceta, Dano, Progreso, Alamo, San Juan, Crystal City, does some bond council work in San Antonio, Corpus Christi, and I don't think anybody there, any of those entities have any conflict or any competition with the city of McAllen. I know once I get elected, I know what I have to do. My responsibility is to be, of course, representing District 1, but in reality, representing the whole city of McAllen. So I see no possibility of conflict. I just don't care.
Okay, David Rankin, Richard Cortez.
Housing prices in McAllen continue to rise, pricing many young families and professionals out of McAllen. How does the city keep that critical population in McAllen? What can the city do about that?
Well, one of the ways that it's doing is through the affordable housing that McAllen started about 30 years ago or 35 years ago. It's been a huge success because it filled the gap that was missing here. But the other way is really to relax some of the regulations that we have and remove some unneeded costs that are being added to all the developers here. We need to rethink all of our ordinances that affect development in McAllen. You know, the state of Texas went to a sunset commission many years ago. It's always, I want to recommend that we look at all of our ordinances that deal with development and make sure that they're dated today. Because if McAllen's property continues to be more expensive than other communities, our regulations continue to be more onerous than other communities, and if our market is not low income, but kind of mid-range income, we will never get that market in McAllen simply because people can't afford it. So we really need to look at those things very carefully.
Okay, next question is for Eduardo Hinojosa.
Obviously, we can't really talk about your past record. This is your first time running. But what are some areas where you think the city could improve?
I think one of the topics that just will not go away, and I also kind of enjoy talking about, is the bond. And I'm hoping that one of the things that we can improve on are our schools. I said recently that I was against the bond, and I stand by it, but it's not necessarily the bond itself, but it's the 297 million, so to speak. I believe that if we review it with a fine-tooth comb, and it needs to be 325 million, then so be it. But there is priorities that we need to put in line. When you want to put an atrium in front of Gonzalez, that's not priority. I think that if we review the bond and see how can we make our schools functional, and what is it that we need to do to make our schools appropriate for students, because I went through every single school district here as far as elementary, middle school, and high school. First, we need to focus on making them functional, and then we can worry about making them sexy. Thank you.
Okay, next question is for Debbie Crane Alexander.
Austin and Washington seem to have a perception that South Texas is unsafe. Now, what are your beliefs, and what would you recommend in order to change that perception with our state and in Washington, especially since now we see a lot of DPS and Border Patrol and a lot of the immigration and drug trafficking issues?
Well, a lot of it is the fault of you reporters. You sensationalize stories. There's good and bad in every city, and McAllen is a very safe city. The police report just came out, and we are one of the safest cities now. Crime is on the decrease. We are doing fantastic things, but it certainly doesn't help when reporters are sensationalizing things and not talking about all the wonderful things that are happening. I'm sorry, I'm digressing because Oscar and I are on the FBI class, and so we just learned about border liaison officers and all the things that are going on, all the safe things that are going on here in the border. We really are safe, but it doesn't help when we have people come in, like at the Distinguished Speaker Series, we had Carl Lowe, and the first thing he said was, last time I was in McAllen, I actually got to go to Reynosa, and everybody laughed, they thought that was so funny, and I was sitting next to Keith Patrick, and we were both so offended. You can't say off the cuff things like that, because things like that get repeated, and people have this connotation that we're not safe. It's a very safe place to live here. Our children are very safe. Our schools are very safe. The community is safe. The police.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave Hendricks, did we skip you?
It's okay.
Okay, well, it's okay. Well, we're gonna make up for it right now. So please ask your question for Johnny.
Commissioner Ingram, some of the most revealing and interesting discussions the City Commission has happen during workshops, which aren't recorded or broadcast. What do you think about that practice at the city? Would you say the same, Jane?
No, I think a workshop should be recorded. I think it's a great idea. The public doesn't come very often to our workshops, and some of the most important things we do, you know, it may deal with something on the agenda later, and we have really deep discussions about it. So I think they should be televised, and everyone should know what's going on.
Okay, that ends number 4. We have a 5th round of questions coming up. And so to keep in order, Dave, do you mind starting this one off? Okay, we'll start with Verano Gallagher.
Commissioner Bailey Whitaker, what has been your biggest accomplishment in your 2 years on the City Commission?
Thank you, Dave. I think that my biggest accomplishment within the city in the last 2 years has been my Run, Ride, and Share program. The Run, Ride, and Share program was started in April of last year to help decrease the fatalities and casualties that are taking place for cyclists and runners on our roads, on our city streets. And I am not faulting the drivers, I'm faulting all of us. I, as a runner, have my headphones on and I don't turn around to look if someone's coming. So I am at fault. Same thing with the drivers. We're texting, we're talking, we're combing our hair. Those of us who are women are putting our makeup on. So we all need to be more aware of how we are on the road, and we need to make sure that we reduce the amount of fatalities and casualties that are taking place on our city streets and our valley streets. And just real quick, I do want to say that 6 cities have taken place in the Run, Ride, and Share program. And there is a man coming from Minnesota who is Bike League of America and has chosen McAllen as the bicycle city for the Bronze Award. And I'm very, very proud that he's chosen McAllen to be part of his.
Very nice. Thank you. Okay, Davis, your questions for Eduardo de la Rosa.
The city has tried to take over the water district number 3. The city gets most of its, almost all the water that Water District 3 sells goes to the city. If you're on the commission and they try to do that again, are you for it or against it? Were you for or against it in the past?
I originally was against it, and obviously it was just a matter of the information that was communicated back and forth. I don't believe that we were given all the information that we needed to make a firm decision. And we always talk about being transparent, but obviously transparent, what means to one person may not mean to another. Surely at this position, I would be more inclined to review and see what it is that the glitches were in communications to try to see if there's some recourse in looking at that issue. So at present, I would always look back and reconsider the issue, and we'll see what these come into play.
Okay, Mr. Villalobos, the next question is yours. It comes from Sky Chatty.
Serving as a commissioner is a pretty thankless job. Obviously, you have to deal with us reporters. Why are you seeking that position?
Well, when you talk about thankless jobs, you should try being Republican chairman for Hidalgo County. Initially, I thought, well, why do I want to do it? And I thought, you know what, I really don't think anybody has the extensive experience I have in dealing with municipalities. whether you're dealing with 380 ordinances, tax abatements, whether you're dealing with annexation disputes, annexations, ETJ agreements, disputes, resolution writing, ordinance writing, whatever it is, just about any aspect of municipal government, I have done 17 and a half years. I don't think, and I understand Mayor Cortez has a good financial background, but what y'all don't know is that my degree was also in accounting. I was an auditor. I can read those numbers and I can look at this budget and I can tell you there's going to be some things that need to be changed. That's one of the reasons, or that's the reason I decided to do it.
And Oscar Margain from Univision Fox News, your question goes to Richard Cortez.
Mr. Cortez, with your experience and your opinion, what specific solutions could you propose to transform McAllen and to create adequate, safe roads for bicyclists, given that we see constant accidents and deaths involving that, and only a few roads have been changed to accommodate and share the road?
You know, I wish I had the answer to that, but it is a problem we're going to have to solve. You know, one fatality is one fatality, too much. I think bicycling is a very important recreational aspect for the quality of life of our citizens. We have many bicyclists here in our city, and I think that's something to study. I just simply can't give you a solution today. I just simply don't know. But I think that's a very good undertaking for the city to look into.
Thank you, sir. Now, Dave Hendricks, your question is for Mr. Hinojosa.
Mr. Hinojosa, all of your opponents have political and government experience, and maybe it shows in campaign finance reports that were filed today, show they all raise more money than you. Why should voters give you fresh face, new guy on the scene, a chance?
Well, I think I can give you an example of thinking outside the box in my approach. A solution for bikers is on my website. Been there for over a month now. One of the solutions or ideas that I'd like to bring is dedicated bike lanes that protect the bicyclists and the cyclists. I think it makes it safer for them. There are young, avid riders that want to get out there and ride with their family. Bigger cities, Mexico City does it, Oregon does it, a bunch of cities do it. Sure, there's a cost to it, but that's the solution. You want to protect your bikers. So when I come up with those types of solutions or that approach, it's my desire and my commitment to be a leader, a new generation, to bring ideas to the city that are outside the box, like the one you gave, and I have other ones too, goals in mind that I have on my website that I have on the push cart there when you walk in.
Okay, next question is for Deputy Craig Alexander.
Hidalgo County voters defeated last year a proposal to establish a hospital district to pay for indigent health care for the poor, and also to support the UTRGV medical school. We're told the issue will come back to the voters as a health care district again, but they won't be able to raise taxes any higher than 25 cents a hundred. You think, I don't know if the school board had a position officially on this last time. Did you support it last time? Will you support it when it comes back again?
I don't remember the school board taking a position. I don't believe we were asked to. My position on it is yes. So UTRGV, the Hidalgo County's already pledged $10 million a year up to the year 2023. So the way that the City of McAllen does it, the City of McAllen's part is $2 million, which they've already paid. But the way that they can get that and not take it out of their general funds and cut some programs that they need is they can raise taxes. The problem with the legislation before was that there was no cap. It wasn't written as clearly as people would like. But I see no problem with it coming back, written very clearly, written with caps. We have to show our commitment to UTRGV Medical School. It's a good. UTRGV Medical School probably really doesn't need it. They have millions and millions with all the oil and all that in their the basin area, but it's a good faith commitment that the Hidalgo County has already promised, and so the money has to come from somewhere. So it's either going to come from the general fund or it's going to come from raising a very small amount of taxes.
Thank you very much. Next question is for John Ingram.
Both you and your opponent talked about revitalizing the city's urban core. A lot of people care about that. You mentioned Imagine Tomorrow, and you mentioned some plan. What needs what has to be done to revitalize the urban core that's not being done now in order to revitalize it?
You know, when you want to invest money, you have to balance the demand.
Microphone, please.
Oh, okay. One of the problems is, you know, it's grown 27% in the last 10 years, and so that puts a lot of strain on drainage and traffic and police and fire. And so you have to balance the demands for service with a balanced tax rate. What I've been doing is what I can in District 5. We're bringing in the softball fields to the municipal park. I'm going to bring in some walking trails at Crockett Elementary. I have some ideas for Project Imagine Tomorrow, where beyond what I told you earlier, we're going to have incentives for empty lots and incentives for vacant homes to try to bring people back into McAllen and into the core. You know, I've done a lot. I've done a lot of cleanups. Thousands of tons of trash have been picked up over the 10 years I've done those cleanups, and hundreds of thousands of, hundreds, well, a lot of times. But it's a lot. And I've just done what I can.
Thank you, sir. Okay, last question for this round goes to Eli Olivares from Unedited Fox News.
Mr. Olivares, earlier you criticized your opponent, Mr. Ingram, for ignoring some parts of District 5, dropping the ball per se. What specific examples can you give where he has done this?
Well, I'm not criticizing Mr. Ingram. I'm just making an observation. I live in this district. I'm just seeing what I see every day. And it's probably not just Mr. Ingram. There is a lack of communication between citizens, city management, and city government. So the criticism is that I want to see more communication. I want to see more involvement, and I really want them to start listening to the people. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're not listening. I'm going to tell you though, I will listen. I will listen to my constituents, and I will take it to them and tell them what we need, because we are in trouble. You can take it any way you want, but we are a declining district, and if we're not careful, it's going to be a decaying district. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen, I'm going to work hard, I've got the passion, and I've got the energy, and I'm going to get it done.
Okay, that finishes round 5. We are going to have a round 6 and then a special surprise round for everybody. So, oh boy, that'll be fun. Okay, Dave Hendricks, you start off round 6. Your question is for Guadalupe De La Rosa.
De La Rosa, as part of a new initiative to improve recycling in McAllen, the city has started to have people go around and look in people's recycling bins and see what's actually in there. That's a good idea.
Recycling bin?
Recycling.
Recycling bin. That's always been an issue. We initiated the recycling system many years ago. And as far as education, school district, and then even the city doing their part, it's kind of just went astray. We'll continue with the ideas, and I'll give you a personal note. My sister that lives in Austin, her kids, which is obviously my nephews and nieces, when they stay over in McAllen, I don't need to tell them how to recycle. They already know to recycle. When we have guests from this area, family or not, and they're throwing away recycled stuff in a trash can that's not recyclable, they'll bring it to their attention. If other cities manage to educate their students and their families the way McAllen wants to, we need to put in some public comments and some initiatives out there so that we can tell our community that we mean business and recycling is very important to the environment and to the city and to the citizen.
Okay, Davis Rankin from KURB, your question is for Javier Villalobos.
I asked Ms. Alicete this, I'll ask you, since you're also running the special election, about the soon-to-be healthcare district proposal with a cap of 25 cents a hundred. Do you think you would support it? Is it a good thing to raise taxes for that now?
The last time we had it, I was definitely against it. Now, It depends. It really depends on what happens. Legislation has been introduced to cap it supposedly at 25 cents. And if that's the case, well, that sounds a lot better now. Now, the only issue we still have, or at least I have, being a conservative individual is, well, what happens if it's raised again afterwards? What happens if we have a hospital district or now a healthcare district and they need more revenue? Now, the reason I may support it, but possibly only if they cement that 25 cents there. If they don't cement it, I probably will not. Now, the reason I may support it is because, you know, it will have a tremendous positive impact on the community. Yes, it's a tax increase, but also the federal government will be sending down quite a lot of money once we have a district. But you've got to be careful. We've got to make sure that there's sufficient constraints. If we do it right, if we do it properly, I would support it.
Okay, Richard Cortez, Sky Chatty has your question.
Obviously, you served as mayor for 8 years. If you elected, how would you approach your role differently now that you're not the top man?
Well, never the top man when I was mayor. We have a mayor, city commissioner, form of government, and a city manager. So we work as a team. To me, I want to bring value to Mayor Garland's to be one of his 6 commissioners. I think I can complement very well the other 5 commissioners that are presently serving the city of McAllen. I bring an array of services that will be able to benefit the city in many aspects. One of the biggest challenges that the city is going to face is how do we stop this leakage of losing 10% of our market share? With sales tax going the way that it's going and predicted the way it's going, McAllen really has to rethink and retool itself for the future. Because as you well know, that 100% of our ad valorem taxes go to pay only one department, and that department is the police department. So we better figure out a way how to grow our revenues, and I think I can contribute greatly to that process and be part of Mayor Garland's and the City Commission's team.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Oscar Margain, you have the next question. It goes to Eduardo Hinojosa.
Mr. Hinojosa, in the event that you end up not being elected, what do you think would be the greatest reason why you'd lose? And on the other side, if you do win, what would you attribute the win to?
I've been very positive, and I've heard a lot of people ask similar question, why are you running? So a similar question is, why are you running? It's going to be very tough to win. I think I probably would attribute it to the marketing blitz that you see throughout the city of my competitors that will put up signs and remind you of what their last name is, or what their maiden name is, or what their political affiliation is. So I would attribute my loss, if it were to happen, to the marketing blitz that's out there. What I bring and what I'm trying to do here with the small budget that I have is to send a message and to touch those citizens that I have a desire to lead the city, a new approach, a new vision to do great things for this city, and that's what I intend to do.
Thank you, sir. Candidates, please take a look at the way we have the signs set up in front of here. Don't use that system. Okay, next question is for Debbie Reynolds. David.
Yeah, I would say that if elected, how would you work to improve the communication and coordination between the city and the school district right now?
I keep doing what I'm doing right now. Having Scott there, having myself there, and having Trustee Vela there and Commissioner Whitaker, we were able to create some joint groups, and we had workshops, and we had all sorts of wonderful things going on. We just have to continue the collaboration. That same collaboration we have to continue with STC, with UTRGV. And we're all working for the same thing. We all have the same student in mind. We all want that student to live in a great house and have a great job when they graduate from UTRGV Medical School. We want them to practice medicine here. It's just a matter of collaborating and doing what I'm already doing right now.
Thank you very much. And the next question for John J. Ingram.
For a long time, the city of McAllen did not like to give incentives to businesses to locate, particularly retail business. The retail picture's changed. What's appropriate for the city to offer? How do you all approach that in terms of what you offer them and how you offer it?
When we look at the business, we're trying to bring in high-tech businesses, businesses that are going to attract other businesses, for example, the auto industry type businesses that are suppliers. We look at the amount they're going to pay per employee by the hour, what type of benefits they're going to provide those employees. And based on that, we determine whether or not, we're going to offer incentives. But it's with the goal of promoting manufacturing or some type of business that's very unique to the valley that's going to give McAllen an edge. And so based on that, we provide incentives so much for jobs if they create so many jobs after a year. And that's how we do it. I think it's something we have to do. No one likes to give incentives, but we're competing not only with our neighbors here in the valley, we're competing with other cities across the United States and across the world, and we have to compete on that stage.
Thank you, sir. Next question is for Eli Olivares. Scott Shanny.
You said you have a lot of experience campaigning. You campaigned for Wendy Davis and Barack Obama. But if elected, how will that translate into actually governing?
Well, what I've learned while I've been campaigning is how to talk, listen, navigate, and organize. This is what I've been doing for over a decade. My goal is for us to get organized together. My goal is for us to communicate together. I have a saying, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, we go together. This is what I can bring to this position. It's for us to go together, work together, create the McAllen that we want together. And I'm going to listen. I'm going to make sure that you are heard. This is what I've learned from my other elections. And that's why Barack Obama has won. Unfortunately, Wendy Davis did not. But that's just something we're going to have to work with in the future. But trust me, I know how to work people, and people know how to work me. And together, we'll go very far, and we will succeed in what we need in this city.
Okay, Oscar Margain, finishing out the round. Your question is for Veronica Whitaker.
Ms. Bella Whitaker, what useful skills and experience does your opponent have that you do not and wish you had?
Throughout the evening, I've been listening to the questions that y'all had given to my opponent, and most of them have to do with the McAllen Police Department. And with the McAllen Police Department comes collective bargaining. Just as I said earlier, I was not fortunate enough to be on part of that team because I had not been elected yet on collective bargaining. But I'm not afraid to learn it,